I'm now joined by our international affairs editor, Doug Herbert. Hi, Doug.
How are you, Angela?
All good here, thanks. So, you know, there he was, Donald Trump, saying, this is a hoax, we have nothing, there is nothing. And then suddenly this major about turn on Sunday night saying Republicans should vote for it. What was going on there?
What gave? What happened here? Donald Trump basically flipped, surrendered, caved, whichever word you want to use, Angela, because he literally was forced to. He had no choice. He saw the writing on the wall. I could keep adding the cliches here. The fact of the matter is, you're absolutely right. Donald Trump has spent months trying to bury this story, trying to, let's say it bluntly, trying to sweep it under the rug, calling it a Democratic hoax, saying that it was merely his enemies were trying to use it as fodder, political fodder, to go after him. And he's done an about-face because he saw that, for once, what he has been able to do since returning to office in January, which is to bend the party, the Republican Party, to his will, he was not able to do that on this issue.
OK, I'm going to interrupt you there, Doug, because we can go live now to the press conference, which has begun.
Horrific and disgusting corruption scandals in our country's history. You had Jeffrey Epstein, who literally set up an island of rape, a rape island. And you had rich and powerful men, some of the richest people in the world, who thought that they could hang out with bankers, buy off politicians, and abuse and rape America's girls with no consequence. Because survivors spoke up, because of their courage, the truth is finally going to come out. And when it comes out, this country is really going to have a moral reckoning. How did we allow this to happen? There should be no buildings named after people in this Epstein class. There should be no scholarships named after them. They shouldn't be enjoying the perks of being affiliated with corporations or universities or writing op-eds or being lionized. And many of the survivors will tell you some of these people still are celebrated in our society. That's disgusting. There needs to be accountability. I want to recognize first and foremost the survivors. They are the ones who made today possible. Many of you had forgotten about this issue, and frankly, for decades, we have not done enough about this issue. And it's only because of their advocacy, them coming here to the Capitol. They showed up here time and again, and on September 3rd, that the country started to pay attention. And I also want to thank the courage of two of my colleagues in particular. Both of them have suffered, as you know, extraordinary political consequences for what they did. One, my colleague, Congressman Thomas Massie. This would not have been possible if he hadn't led the discharge petition that got 218 signatures and is going to force a vote in the House of Representatives. And this would not have certainly been possible if it were not for the courage of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She signed the petition, and I would keep texting Thomas, is she going to drop off? Is she going to drop off? Because there was so much pressure against her, so much attacks against her. But she stood with the survivors. For Thomas or me, this has never been political. This is not about questions of Trump or Biden. This is a question of doing the right thing for survivors. We're going to get a vote today. I expect an overwhelming vote in the House of Representatives. And I don't want the D.C. swamp playing any games. They need to pass this in the Senate. And they should not amend it. President Trump has said he would sign the Epstein Transparency Act. It's going to get overwhelming support in the House. It should go straight to the Senate, and it should be signed. No amendments, no adding loopholes. Justice is long overdue. And I want to hand it over to my colleague, Representative Thomas Massie.
I want to start by thanking the survivors. I mean, they're giving everybody hope in this country. There are survivors of other sex crimes in this country wondering if they should come forward. They're clouded with shame and concerned that law enforcement will do nothing. And these survivors have stepped forth, taking that same risk, worried that they will be defamed themselves. They have been defamed for stepping forward. But we're going to get justice for them. That's going to happen today in the People's House. The founders set up our government with 3 branches and 2 branches of Congress. And I don't think it's any coincidence that this fight is being started and it's being won in the House of Representatives. I have people, other survivors of other sex crimes, who come to me and say, thank you. You give me hope. You give us hope. There is hope here. We fought the president, the attorney general, the FBI director, the Speaker of the House, and the vice president to get this win. But they're on our side today, though. So let's give them some credit as well. They are finally on the side of justice. And as Rose said, don't muck it up in the Senate. Don't get too cute. We're all paying attention. If you want to add some additional protections for these survivors, go for it. But if you do anything that prevents any disclosure, you are not for the people and you are not part of this effort. Do not muck it up in the Senate. So with that, I just want to say I am hopeful too. I didn't know that we would succeed when Roe and I started this effort. Most discharge petitions never make it, maybe only 4%. So we had long odds. But we had some brave women on the Republican side. My colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of them who's here with us today. You cannot even imagine the consequences that they have suffered. My colleague Lauren Boebert and my colleague Nancy Mace, they stood so strong. They put their names on a document in here, and then they were pressured in ways that you cannot even imagine, and they stood strong. And that's why we're here today. And they didn't take us seriously over at the executive branch or in the Senate because they always thought they could flip one of these women. They could convince them or cajole them or intimidate them into taking their names off of this petition. But they did not succeed. This is a victory for those women and women all over the country today, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. With that, I want to introduce my colleague, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Ro. I woke up this morning and I turned to my weather app to check the temperature, and it was 32 degrees. And my first thought was, hell has froze over. I want to speak goodness and love and hope into the women standing behind me and all of the other survivors whose names you don't even know, but stand with these women. They are survivors, and they are strong, and they are courageous, and they are daughters of God. They are not victims. These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight, and they did it by banding together and never giving up. And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that. While I want to see every single name released so that these women don't have to live in fear and intimidation, which is something I've had a small taste of in just the past few days, just a small taste. They've been living it for years. But the real test will be, will the Department of Justice release the files? Or will it all remain tied up in investigations? Will the CIA release the files? Will a judge in New York release the information? That's information that needs to come out. And will the list of names that these women privately hold, and they hold it because of their fear in their heart of what would happen to them if they release it on their own, will that list of names come out? That's the real test. So I want to thank Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna for your bravery in doing something that is much needed in America, crossing the political aisle that has become bigger than the Grand Canyon in America. But these men crossed that aisle on behalf of these women. And that is more of what is needed today in America than ever in our history. So thank you so much. Who's next? Ro, I'll let you introduce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marjorie, Representative Green, for your courage and your words. Before I introduce our survivors, I just want to say that they will make their statements, and then you can ask questions of Representative Massie, myself, or Representative Green, but we do not want people asking questions and cross-examining the survivors. They're here to tell their stories, and they should be heard by the American people with respect. Of course, Congressman Massie, myself, and Congresswoman Green would be happy to answer questions after that. With that, let me introduce the survivor who's helped organize a lot of this, and will be telling her own story and introducing the other survivors. Haley Robson, thank you for your courage and leadership.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Oh, good morning. It's a little chilly coming from Florida. Not used to it. I want everybody to take a look. I know everybody sees us today as grown adults, but we are fighting for the children that were abandoned and left behind in the reckoning. This is who you're fighting for. This is who Congress is fighting for. This is who the House of Representatives are fighting for, and hopefully the Senate will fight for us too. I want to kick this off right, and I want to address Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Ro Khanna. I want to express my gratitude for all three of you, and I know, Ro Khanna, we spoke earlier. This is an incredible thing that I'm watching as a Republican, and this is non-political, but for you to go against your own party and to be ostracized, there's no place for political violence, there's no place for intimidation, and I can say firsthand, stepping out against Epstein and his crimes against children, we have all experienced that ourselves. So for you to knowingly put yourselves at risk and put your career at risk is unbelievable to watch, and we are so grateful. I also want to make a proposition for Marjorie Taylor Greene, because you've been an advocate for this. If you decide to read those names on the House floor for immunity, I will be more than happy, no security needed. I will stand beside you. I will hold your hand. I will hold your coat in solidarity with you. And on top of that, I did talk to Jayapal, who said she would be more than happy to read those names too on the floor with all of us. It's time that we put the political agendas and party affiliations to the side. This is a human issue. This is about children. There is no place in society for exploitation, sexual crimes, or exploitation of women in society. There's no room for it, guys. We're not having it. And to the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand that your position has changed on the Epstein files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help to be skeptical of what the agenda is. So, with that being said, I want to relay this message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. You have put us through so much stress, the lockdowns, the halt of these procedures that were supposed to have happened 50 days ago. The Adelita Grijalva who waited to get sworn in, and then get upset when your own party goes against you because what is being done is wrong. It's not right. for your own self-serving purposes. This is America. This is land of the free. Land of the free. In 1863, we have a woman on top of the Capitol building represent freedom. I do not feel free today. I don't know if the women behind me feel free today. So I am begging every member of Congress, every representative, to step up and choose the chaos. Choose the survivors. Choose the children. Protect the children. All children. You protect all of us equally. Thank you very much for your time. Following that, Lisa Phillips will be the next survivor.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Phillips. It's an honor to stand here again for something America is finally united on: the immediate release of the entire Epstein files. In a divided nation, this is one demand we all share. Last time I stood here, I made a promise to all survivors watching. If those in power refused to release the truth, we would start uncovering it ourselves. For anyone who doubted that, that moment has already arrived. Since that day, more survivors across the country and around the world have reached out. Text, emails, DMs, firsthand accounts, and evidence. Many are women who were abused or trafficked through the international modeling pipeline Epstein built, promising visas, apartments, opportunities, futures, while exploiting their dreams for abuse. Most are still terrified to speak publicly because the men involved are powerful. They're connected, and as we know, they're protected. For too long, survivors have watched others speak for us. And while we are grateful for our allies in Congress on both sides, we've realized something. This fight belongs to us. We lived it, and we know the truth. And we will not wait quietly for institutions to decide when we're allowed to speak. The survivors now coming forward have entrusted us with their stories. We are sharing that information with the proper authorities, and when it can safely be made public, it will be. So today, we are launching something historic. The first national, survivor-led political movement in America. Nonpartisan, laser-focused on exposing the systems, the loopholes, power structures, and silencing mechanisms that have protected predators for far too long. We are stepping directly into the halls of power, into the political arena. We will help rewrite laws that failed us and build protections for our nation's children together, targeted by sexual exploitation. Together, today, survivors begin our own fight, the survivor revolution. And we intend to change this nation for the better. If you're a survivor who wants to join us, please reach out. And to anyone who benefits from the current system, intentionally or not, remember this. Alone, yes, we are afraid. But together, we are feared. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Jenna Lisa Jones, and just as Haley, I would just like to give a little reminder that this was me at 14 years old. I was a child. I was in 9th grade. I was hopeful for life and what the future had held for me. He stole a lot from me at 14. So just a little reminder there for everybody. Sorry. So, I just want to start out by saying thank you for all of you for being here today. I want to start by expressing my deepest gratitude to the members of Congress who have stood with us the survivors in demanding the transparency and justice. Your support is a signal that this institution can still serve the American people. This issue was never one that should have divided us the way it has. In fact, it should have united us. Sexual abuse is not a Republican issue. It is not a Democratic issue. It is also not a hoax. We are here as American survivors of a man who used his wealth and power to hurt young girls and women. The world should see the files to know who Jeffrey Epstein was and how the system catered to him and failed us. Emotionally, this process has been distressing. First, the administration said it would release everything and then applauded President Trump for that. Then it fought to release nothing. Now that checks and balances of our democracy have worked and the bill is getting passed to release the files, we are hearing the administration say they intend to investigate various Democrats who were friends with Epstein. I beg you, President Trump, please stop making this political. It is not about you, President Trump. You are our president. Please start acting like it. Show some class. Show some real leadership. Show that you actually care about the people other than yourself. I voted for you, but your behavior on this issue has been a national embarrassment. It is time to take the honest, moral ground and support the release of these files, not to weaponize pieces of the files against random political enemies that did nothing wrong, but to understand who Epstein's friends were, who covered for him, what financial institutions allowed his trafficking to continue, who knew what he was doing but was too much of a coward to do anything about it. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were able to recruit and abuse young girls and women. Then the country will learn nothing, and has horrible history will repeat itself if we do not do something about this. Thank you to the brave congressmen and women who have stood by us and recognized our side is the American side, and we should all be proud once again to be Americans. I want to just extend my thank you so much to all three of you, very, very much. The first time we were here, listening to the, people yell shame at you, and when she was here in support of us, really hit home and spoke some volumes, and I just very much appreciative of your support, and we stand by you. Don't let any of them bully you. We're here for you. Thank you, guys.
Well, you were listening there, of course, to some of the key figures in the Republican movement who have taken a stand against Donald Trump's original position on the Epstein files, and there, most importantly, the survivors speaking out. Now, I'm joined by Doug Herbert, who's been watching this with me. Doug, this feels like a very major development, a big moment. They were talking about they are setting up a movement, the survivors, which they hope will be non-partisan, and it feels like a Me Too moment. Do you think they will gather momentum?
Look, it is a remarkable moment, and I think you're absolutely right. It needs to be underscored here. I think right now the question that a lot of people are looking for when they listen to these women, these brave women coming forth to speak, after living with this for decades and decades, and calling on other survivors to come forth. And the word survivor is well chosen because this is a trauma that they have survived, but which very much continues to have an impact on their lives decades later. The question people are asking is this the moment when Donald Trump's aura of invincibility was punctured? Because for better or for worse, until now, and especially since Donald Trump returned to power back in January, he has been willy-nilly able to bend the Republican Party and the MAGA movement more broadly to his will. And what I mean by that is MAGA movement was whatever Trump said it was. The policies were whatever he said they were. You rejected his take on these policies. You rejected his version of how things should be at your own risk. One reason this is remarkable is, they're coming forward, and as you underscored, this is a non-political, non-partisan movement. As we heard one of the survivors saying there, this is not a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. And she also pointedly said, and it is not a hoax. a clear shot across the bow, once again, to Donald Trump, a man for whom she said she had voted, that, as he has called it, a Democratic hoax. Donald Trump in the past pitching the Jeffrey Epstein issue as little more than a petty weapon being wielded and brandished by his opponents to get at him. Who had absolutely nothing to do with Epstein. What's very interesting today, and we heard allusions to this before, is all of a sudden the abruptness of this switch, of this about face, not only on Trump's part, but on the part of the Republican Party. And I am going to specify, on the part of the Republicans in Congress who have now tended to go in lockstep with Donald Trump, are now distancing themselves from any efforts to ever block this legislation from going through, from being voted on, as it's about to be today, or even to slow walk it, to slow it down. They are distancing themselves. It's almost like, who, me? Not I never did that. What, in fact, the entire party virtually as a bloc did oppose any measure, so long as Trump was in opposition to it, to release these files. Now when Trump has given his blessing, suddenly, to going forth to this legislation in the face of what is an inevitability. He cannot stop it. The Republican Party basically all on board with the narrative. I would call it a revisionist narrative. We were always for releasing these files and bringing Donald Trump on board with this narrative, saying, and our president, who has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, was also always on board with releasing these files. It is a revisionist narrative. It is factually incorrect. The truth of the matter is the vast majority of the Republican Party, with very few exceptions, were for keeping these files locked down, unless it was about going after Democrats, as Donald Trump said this week, telling the Justice Department to investigate Democrats with alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So this really is, it's a smokescreen. It is an about face on many people's part. But the narrative that we are hearing today, this new narrative that we were always behind the release of these files, and that we're now, and then the whole party about to overwhelmingly vote in favor of their release, this is very new. This is very abrupt.
In a minute about what might be released, how it might be released, the actual details of that. But you've touched on, of course, the huge political ructions behind this. One of the people we heard speaking there, of course, was Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican congresswoman from Georgia. She's become quite well known outside the United States. That looked almost like a presidential pitch. She was very clearly saying, I stood up with all the resistance I had, with all the intimidation I had. Donald Trump called me a traitor. Has he lost control of key?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right, seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene, the most loyal foot soldier to Donald Trump in the past. If ever there's a loyal foot soldier, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was pure blood MAGA, pure blood Trump. And on many issues, she perhaps still is. This is the one issue, well, there are several others. She had been critical of Republicans in recent weeks and months on other issues as well. The Gaza war, she had called it a genocide. She broke with the Republican Party very signally and notably amid the government shutdown, the recent government shutdown. It's now reopened, especially with regard to Republicans' approach to health care, ending those Obama-era health subsidies for lower-income Americans, for ordinary Americans in general. She was critical of Donald Trump's decision to strike Iran. Those are foreign policy issues. But it did show that this doesn't come out of nowhere. She has been slowly, in different ways, signaling that she is an independent woman. She has her independent views, even though she has been viewed through this very, you might say, cliched prism of Marjorie Taylor Greene is hardwired, attached at the hip to Donald Trump. She has shown in ways big and small that she's not. And this is perhaps the biggest issue in which she has broken ranks. And what she did, interestingly, is she has perhaps more credibility than almost anyone else. I will go out on a limb and say almost anyone else in the entire MAGA movement, because she's not some moderate Republican. She was not some what Donald Trump might view as a wishy-washy Republican, a soft Republican. She was hardcore. I said before, she was pure bred. So when she comes out and she says that she believes that as a patriotic American, she has to stand with these women. She has to defend these women because it's about defending America, patriotism, and it's about defending Americans. When she says that, there's really nothing you can say back to her. There's nothing plausible that Donald Trump can say to her. When he calls her a traitor, when you see her standing there and herself saying, I stand with these women. I'm protecting women. I'm protecting Americans and America and Americans. There's really very little you can do, even if you're Donald Trump, at this moment in time, to push back on that. He's called her a traitor. In recent days, there have been reported threats to a pipe bomb scare to her construction company. Hours later, local police in Rome, Georgia, where Marjorie Taylor Greene lives, they reported a death threat to her son. So when she says that she has now been in sort of this new bubble of threats, the types of threats that often you have to really be perceived as an enemy or an opponent of Trump, usually Democrats are on the receiving end of these types of threats. The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene now feels like she is endangered, that she is jeopardized, that she is the target of these threats, that is really saying a lot. And a lot of Americans watching her say these things today, it will be quite a reality check. If Marjorie Taylor Greene can say these things, it is in a sense, it gives a green light or broader permission to more people who might have sat on the fence right now within the MAGA movement, within the Republican Party, to do what she's done and break ranks and come out.
I'm being told that we are out of time for now, Doug, but you will be with us later on and can talk more about what might be released, what might be in it in our next programme.